think it's time I finally went over something that I think about pretty much every week of my life, but I have yet to address, and that is my thoughts on whether or not we reincarnate after we die. And since I was a kid, I have always believed that that is the case, that reincarnation is real, that when you die, you come back either in a different form or you are a human again. But I, to tell you the truth, have never been completely sure because I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody has come back to life and said, yeah, I was dead for a brief moment. I was being born into a rabbit, but suddenly my human self decided that I wanted to still make it while I was human, and therefore I came back to my human form because my rabbit form was just not ready to take it because I wasn't done with being human, you know? So if you were here earlier in the year, I made a video about spirituality and religion and pretty much my thoughts on it. And I remember describing that I am an agnostic. And to sum it up, or say it in better words now that it's been some time since that and it's marinated in my brain, I like to say, I don't know, because I cannot say that I can prove the evidence of there being life after death in the same manner that someone cannot prove to me that there is no life after death. So let me see. You happen to show up at the right time, I guess. Now, even though you dissed me yesterday, I'm an atheist. DH, I'm gonna call you David Hayter just because I like him. Nah, just kidding. If you don't know who David Hayter is, he voices Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid, which is the best gaming franchise ever. And his voice is amazing. but but yeah, if you don't behave tonight, I'm gonna roast you again. I don't, and that game is great, fantastic. You finally said something that makes you gain points. I remember the first one that went out. Good job. If you're talking about the original Metal Gear Solid for the PS1, you're turning a little cooler by the second. But anyway, let me not get too sidetracked. As I was saying about reincarnation and junk, recently I watched this one video. I wish I remembered where it was at or who uploaded it or what it was entitled, but it was, I remember it saying something about how some people die and they have like whatever scar they have in their current life, and then they were injured fatally when they are born again as another person, of course. Supposedly, they have a scar in the spot where they were fatally wounded. And I remember reading or seeing in the video another part of, there was this woman who was like dying of old age or something, and then supposedly she ended up getting herself painted like in the back of the neck or something, and then she asked to be born as a boy, and supposedly her daughter had a boy that was born with that white mark in the back of her head, his head. I'm not sure if I believe in that or not. Like, to me, since I don't understand that, since I have not witnessed this, it seems far-fetched to me. And also there's the story of some boy who supposedly remembers that he is from another country and that he died from a fatal blow to the head by an axe or something, and that he was born with a scar, and I want to believe in that entirely, but once again, I don't know this person. I'm not in the country where this happened. So, since it's something too incredible, I have a hard time saying I believe in it, but I will believe in it if I can find multiple sources that back it up. And then for me, when I watched that video, at the end of it, I got into some really intense thinking process, like I typically do, and I had this very intense daydream of feeling a certain type of way about when I read about the bubonic plague in Europe. You guys probably don't know this about me. I don't think I've ever said it in the channel, but I am a huge germaphobe. Like, I am that one person who, when I walk into, say, Walmart, I grab one of their sanitizing tissues, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it gives me such a great feeling of comfort. And I take it and I start wiping my phone. Like, I wipe my phone, I wipe my keys, and then I don't wipe the terminal where I use my card in, and I try to not touch the screen. So fortunately, all you have to do is just scan something, insert your card if it has a chip, and then it does its thing automatically. But since I only have debit, I have to put in my debit pin, and of course, that requires for me to touch the terminal. If I have long sleeves, this is what I do. And if I have gloves, then I'm not worried about it. But if I touch the terminal with my bare finger, I literally drive with that finger, which is usually this one, sticking out. And I keep thinking about it until I get home, and when I get home, I immediately wash my hands. Like, I have been like this since forever, guys. If you look at my closet, my shoes, none of them are touching each other. Like, the soles of my shoes, they're not touching each other. But I don't understand my logic of my germaphobe-ism if I walk into my freaking room with my shoes on. Because since it's the cold weather, I feel way too cold to be taking them off on my way to the room. So something about just washing my hands often just helps me a lot. And I think part of the reason why I am more obsessed with that presently is because I realize that I touch my face a lot when I'm speaking or when I'm thinking or just doing anything. So maybe I trained myself to keep my hands as clean as possible since I touch my face a lot. But anyways, just so you know, I have a problem with germs. So when I cook, I follow this one ritual that you have no idea. But just so that you have an idea. When I go to the gas station, people tend to just park, refuel, get on their car, leave. I park, pay, refuel, go back to the bathroom, wash my hands, come back, drive off. So, because it's like I feel it. It feels like this weird dust feeling in my hands. What kind of relation does this have with this video topic? Well, I've thought to myself, I have European descendants. So, what if I died as a result of the bubonic plague? And then the reason I'm a massive germaphobe is because maybe I could have been alive for a little longer back in the day if better sanitation would have been practiced at my home. So, that's why I entitled this video Reincarnation is Fascinating, because I had that thought after I watched this video about reincarnation, and I said to myself, the thoughts of me and my obsession with cleanliness is what was triggered. So what if I was a victim of the bubonic plague, and I had a very nasty and gross death. And then when I came back to life, I created these habits so that I can live healthily and not succumb to the same thing again. And then I also thought about the birthmarks that I have. Yesterday, guys, I discovered that I have one right here, but it is so subtle. Like I keep asking myself, had I noticed this before? Did this just show up, or had it always been there? And then another really obvious one that I have is in my knees, one of my knees. And I'm thinking, what if on another life I was a soldier who got shot or injured in my leg, and I either lost it and that caused my death, like bleeding to death, or you know, so I just became so obsessed with the topic that I said someday I'll make a video about it, and I gotta be able to ramble about it because there's just so much I want to say. And the story that stood out the most to me was me thinking, what if I was a victim of the bubonic plague? So let me see what my boy is saying. I remember, yes, I used to have Metal Gear Solid on PS1. Well, I think energy and our body are shells. We need to find a way you can have callers call in and ask your question also. You know, what's another thing that I have thought? What if dead people aren't really dead? They just cannot prove that they're alive. But as far as I know, last time I checked, people do not decompose when they're sleeping. So that's what makes me believe that it's not possible that you're just in a very intense sleep state when you die, because no, no. I pretty much debunked that. Hello, KG Carter. I can't say I've seen you before, but welcome aboard. And you're saying, believe on the Lord Jesus and you will be saved. He died and rose again and is alive today. You know, there is a... I've been exposed to the topic quite often, so I'm still not really quite familiarized with it, but I'm getting around to it. I do think energy does transfer, though. So within a space, essence, religion, and science go hand in hand. Remember, I am a non-believer. I don't believe in a higher power, and if so, we are the higher power. Well, I just got through telling my boyfriend that I had a thought a few days ago or yesterday. When did this happen? Anyway, I know that I just thought about how if I had to amend the theory of evolution, I think this was a dream actually, that inside my dream I was thinking that we are actually evolving into monkeys. Like monkeys are actually our superior forms, and my logic behind that in my dream was that they have a better physical ability, like they can hang from branches, they can climb trees, they have a better diet in a sense, because they are smart enough to know that all you need to eat is like fruit and leaves, and what else do they eat? Anyways, whereas we eat things that are toxic to us, although we know that eating those things are toxic for us. And then I also feel like monkeys just have a one-track mind. So it's like once they learn something, they get it. Whereas a person, you need to like back it up constantly, or just practice it and repractice it and repractice it in order to get it. Whereas monkeys just seem to just get something on the first try or lesson or something. But I shot my thought down because I was telling myself, Evolution supposedly means that you are becoming superior by adapting to your surroundings. So, for instance, we stopped having a lot of hair because we created clothes, and therefore having fur was unnecessary. And then we also moved to like different climates. So, on some climates, it would not be appropriate for you to have a thick fur, a thick coat. Otherwise, you would cook yourself. So, um, I told myself, how is declining cognitively better for you? If we are truly evolving into monkeys, if monkeys are the better versions of ourselves, the superior versions of ourselves, how is losing our cognitive abilities to, like, say, generate complex thoughts, carry out complex ideas, etc., how is that a benefit? But then to counter that, I said maybe the benefit would be that if we evolve into more incapable mentally creatures, we stop messing up the planet to where we are the means to our own destruction. Because, you know, we keep contaminating it and all that junk. So I could go on, but it's just weird how this all happened either on a dream or when I just zone out in a day and have my intense daydreams, and I'm like, just what is my brain full of to to do that? But what if? What if? And then I know that I steered away from reincarnation again, but I pretty much said the part that I wanted to really bring up the most, which was me believing that it's possible that I was a victim of the bubonic plague. Because, you know, as far as I know, that could have been prevented if better sanitation would have been in place. Like, wasn't it rats or something that brought the disease? And then people had their sewage was pretty much the streets and everything. Like, they would dump their junk from like buckets on the second level out the window or something. I don't know. It's been a long time since I read about it. But yeah, what if my little condition of being obsessed with washing my hands a lot and just stuff not touching each other, what if I was born that way because I was traumatized by the way that I died in another life, you know? But then that doesn't explain the rest of my birthmarks. So I guess that means that I have come back many, many times. But at the same time, if you really do come back, do you ever have a choice as to trying a different life? Like, I was human this time. Am I going to be human again, or can I be a dog, a cat, or something? Honestly, if I had a choice, I would want to be human again. But I'm not sure if I would have a say over my culture again. So that would be tricky. But anyways, let me see what you're saying. I hate germs also. I do the same thing. It's crazy about the Walmart thing. It's more in the head. Honestly, our bodies are made up of more non-human than human, which is crazy. You never know. Bubonic plague is mainly spread by infected fleas from small animals. A lot of Europeans was living with animals and learned the hard way. Have you heard about astral projection? I haven't. What is that? I love this topic. You have no idea. Yeah, Europeans was pissing and pooping on the water they drink out of. They would just dump the bodies in the river. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember hearing about that in one of my history classes. And the worst part about that was the visualization that I had of bodies just floating on the rivers. Like, there was an episode in the cartoon known. Wait, the cartoon was The Legend of Tarzan, and it used to air on Toon Disney. And there's an episode where there's like this mine built by a stream, a river, and then it was polluted, and you could see the fish looking all gray and everything just floating on the surface. So an image similar to that, but with human bodies, is what came to my mind when I heard of, bodies being dumped in the river. You should check out animism and how people worshipped everything. Many people are pagans and don't even know it. Yes, pagans. That is a word that I've been hearing a lot. I'm just glad that we exist in a more relatively cleaner time when it comes to that. Like, at least I can say that the air that I breathe does not smell terrible. Because I can imagine that the smell of the air back then must have been death. Because that's exactly what was happening. Astral projections describe a willful out-of-body experience, a supposed form of telepathy that is separate from the physical body and capable of traveling outside it throughout the universe. Supposed form of telepathy, separate from the physical body. I haven't heard of that, but that describes pretty much a superpower that I think that all humans have, but we just don't acknowledge it. People have odd dreams and coming to other places. Yeah, where do our dreams come from? Why is it that we can dream about people who we don't even know? Have we seen these people at some point in our lives and they're just resurfacing? Or are we completely generating a new image in our dreams? Like not waking up at night. Another weird thing that happens to me is sometimes I randomly just have visions out of nowhere. Like I was telling my boyfriend tonight about this memory that I have of being a child, 4th grade, and for a week I had a recurring daydream that I was looking at a coast, like, beach water, the waves breaking on the shore, a cliff, sand, but then part of the cliff was altered, and I believe that the alteration was man-made because it had like a geometric formation, which means there were sharp edges, straight lines, smoothness, whereas when something is created by erosion and just natural processes, you can see that it's not even. There are more bumps, the consistency is not smooth, there's definitely no edge, and there are parts that may be pointy, other parts may be smoother or something, but it's never it's never something that's like smooth and straight. But for some reason I couldn't tell if I was flying or if I was in a ship as I looked at this coast of mine. But I started having that dream coincidentally around the time that I started learning a little bit about history, like the settlement to the Americas. So maybe I've been the kind of learner since forever that when I read something or hear someone telling me a story, I visualize it so strongly that anytime I have to recur back to the knowledge, the first thing that comes to mind is the image of what helped me retain it, as opposed to what the words spoken or that I read were. So maybe while I was in class, that's what I was picturing. And since the chapter was so impactful for me. When I would go home and try to go to sleep, that was the lesson for the day that intrigued me the most. Therefore, that's what my brain was digesting at the time. I don't expect you to follow that, but that's as best as I can put it into words. Dreams, I think, are really a part of DNA. I never thought about that. You know, they found out there are more to the DNA, and how DNA is like our stored memory, kinda like computers. Science is proved has proved a lot of people are affected by slavery, even though we were not born. That makes a lot of sense because now that I think about it, I've always wondered how we can be good at something without even being taught, and why. Anytime people say, oh, that ability runs in the family, people are right for the most part. Like, I have never studied medicine. I have never studied like anything pertaining to that, but somehow I know things, and I can fix issues with my own body. Like sometimes I have like these weird cramps, and I start massaging myself in such a way and it goes away. And my great grandfather was someone who would cure people. And um, my mother, for instance, she had an accident when she was like an adolescent or in her early 20s or something. Um, and she pretty much was not supposed to have been able to walk ever again, because her knees were like broken and dislocated or something like that. But then they took her to her grandfather, and he was doing his thing, like just messing around with her knees and her legs, and he was able to like remount them to where they belong. And my mom's knees kind of pop out in a strange way, so that was going to be like the permanent consequence, but it's nothing bad. But ever since, she's been very careful about what kind of stress she puts on her legs and everything. She tries to avoid it. But I'm thinking, what if I inherited his ability to like just be able to fix myself? Like, I'm always sore or in pain at any given time, and I can just squeeze myself in the way on my first try and then fix it, and it's gone for a long period of time. And then it's just weird. It's like people don't need to tell me their discomfort. I can tell what it is. So it's hard to put into words, because unless you go through this, you just don't really think about explaining it, because it's something that you just know. And since, like I said, I'm not educated on this, so I don't know the proper terms to describe what my grandfather would do, you know? Let's see. DNA is us memory and reliving, etc. I hate to bring it up, the zodiac, but I am a Pisces. I am kind of a deep person, and this is why I am able to understand these type of subjects. Well, I am a Leo, and I am able to bring up this topic and discuss it and ramble on it. So I hate to break it to you, Mr. Pisces, but you're really not that special. There, I'm being sassy at you again. You asked for it. You're welcome. I got it down to crazy stuff that my dreams told the truth. I could pin down close ones' death down to 2 years or less. I would have dreams of people and couldn't see their faces. It's odd. My sister, mom, and grandma have the same kind of skill. South Africa is this universe, the spirit of designers. Are you a water sign? Leos are lovers. Sassy, thank you. Yes, Leos are. All that I read about Leos is that great lovers and great leadership traits. And I'm like, how can leadership be such a trait in us when I cannot even defend myself from when I'm being verbally abused stuff? But anyways, um, like I don't stand up for myself. But anyways, um, I really want to say that the time of the year when you are born really matters, but at the same time, I can be so similar to people who don't even have the same birth day or birth season as myself. So I really think that is just, I want to say it's irrelevant because zodiac stuff I have learned to associate with like um the daily horoscopes that you see, and honestly that's just people trying to make a dollar, creating generic messages supposedly telling your fortune. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Practice lucid dreaming. I control mine and it helps with stress. I've heard about that. Leader is not outward, it's within, and it's also not about timing either. Yeah, those people are fake. um, so yeah, when it comes to my zodiac, I don't go about my day thinking I'm a Leo, so therefore, I'm gonna have the greatest love life ever, or I'm gonna have the greatest finances ever. Um, I just, every day is different. So I don't think I can let the zodiac just tell me what my fate is going to be like because it has been wrong in the past. So that's what let me know that this cannot be accurate. Most people give sign stuff to make a buck and be generic. Yeah, exactly. Like they create this message that's really, see, to me the horoscope is good if I look at it as something that's trying to give me its best advice. But anything can do that. Like a health book can do that, a Bible can do that, so coming from a horoscope and knowing that someone is getting paid for saying that, it's like, no, your validity declines by the word that I read. So anyways, I feel like I'm forgetting something else that I wanted to say about reincarnation. So I said the story. I wondered if you have a say over what species you'll be born back into. Plants, plants are living beings, but of course they don't have the processes that we have. So do they have souls? Do they reincarnate too? Because to me, every single tree freaking looks the same, except for, maybe the shape of the leaves that they create. Some of them may be like bigger, wider, greener, or something. But to me, trees are all the same. Um, of course, except for the very perceivable differences, such as palm trees, they have those lines going around them, and then the shape of their leaves are significantly different and their size too. So when it comes to plants, I just like to think that they do have feelings and everything, but but how can I say this? It's not really like we do, which is it involves emotion and everything. Like their feelings is more with the environment. Like say when there's pollution, they are less likely to produce more fruit because they are under stress from external factors, you know? But because they don't have a voice, they cannot say, hey, pollution is making me produce fewer apples because I'm not getting the right amount of CO2 or oxygen. Like I'm drowning in too much CO2 to like produce the right elements in me to give you the apples that you're used to. You know, something like that. So them not like producing as much fruit is their way of saying that they are under stress from environmental factors, you know? So, let's see. Trees are normally just the same tree. If you look at the roots, it goes back to energy. We are all energy. Plants do have feelings. Yeah, so I just attempted to explain what kinds of feelings I think they have, but I might be wrong. So once again, I resort back to my I don't know, but it is fun to speculate. And then if trees, you know, they have their own spot in life, what is their reincarnation like? Is it possible to cross from the kingdom, like the animal and plant kingdom? Like if you were a plant, can you decide to be an animal now? And if you were an animal, can you suddenly be born as a plant? Because let me tell you, to me, being born as a plant is going to be the most boring thing ever. But maybe plants secretly are badass. So, let's see. We are with the environment just like plants. The issue is society just condition us. A lot of the answers are in the Bible, and God can reveal the answers for your speculations. See, it's interesting that you say that because I have been told so much that for someone who doesn't read the Bible and has like no religious or spiritual affiliation whatsoever, I manifest myself as if I have read the thing. It's time for another theory. What if I was once a preacher of some sort? What if I used to be in another life someone really focused in religion, and then somehow that knowledge just got passed down to me? And that's why I behave in the way that I'm supposed to behave despite not having the guide as my guide to manifest that way. Enough nonsense. And yes, that is so true. Like something that I want to share is that I believe that the environment never forgets. Like all the thousands of years of history in the planet. Okay, I have a better way of expressing it now. When I started to work 4 years ago, I did not have my license. Therefore, I could not drive myself to work. But work was fortunately 1 block away. So all I had to do was cross a parking lot, go under some bridge, cross the street, and there was my job. It was less than a quarter of a mile away. And people found out that I was walking, and they would tell me that they were worried about me walking under the bridge, particularly at night, because it's a pretty sketchy place. Although I was by myself, and yes, the bridge was dark and scary, inducing fear, I never felt threatened or like I was alone in any way. I felt like I was being watched, but in a good way. So I always told myself, what if, say, my grandfather is looking after me? Because I just felt like this weird protection. I'm not saying that everywhere I go I am safe, but during that time, I remember telling my mom that's how I felt, and she said, well, it's possible that you have a very strong like spiritual connection with the environment, and then that's helping you. It's possible that you're just being looked after from beyond. And I'm pretty sure that as much as I express myself wondering what happens beyond this realm, if there is such a thing, the loved ones of mine who have passed on, I am sure that they would try to give me the evidence as obvious and clear as possible for me to have no doubt that such a thing is possible. But I have yet to receive that. But what if I have received it, but in a form that I cannot identify as that is, as a matter of fact, the evidence that I'm looking for to confirm for me that this is real, that there is a life after this earth realm, and that your loved ones look after you and everything, you know? Let's see. Okay, he's real, but it's your choice not to trust him. I read the Bible and the Quran. Your spirit always lived, just not in your current body. Yeah, because I always wondered, how is it that some customs, some behaviors, some conducts don't get lost, you know? Like, I feel like I've been here before. I have, like, what do people call those? Deja vu, deja vu moments, to where I'm like, wait, have I been here before? Have I seen this before? Have I said this before? Have you said that before? But clearly you haven't said it before, because we're living today, right now. So how do I have a recollection of something that hasn't happened? So maybe it did happen, but it was in a different time in history, in my previous life. Let's see. Most people don't know who are the chosen people. My family worries when I walk. I walk, but I also have a car and truck. I find peace in it for sure. It goes back to what I said. Society conditions us. We are one with Earth. That's one thing. Yeah, absolutely. I have always believed in how just perfect the Earth is. Like, everything that we need and could possibly need is out in nature. We're just not connected to it like we used to, so we don't see that anymore. Like, you know, before there was modern science, people still made their medicines. They knew how to treat any ailment. Now we're so ignorant and heavily dependent on pharmaceuticals. So, what happened to our powers? We were conditioned to being in a society, and being in a society makes you dependent on commodities, because you are losing touch with your original form, which is you go by instinct. So that's why when you are a kid, it's tricky to discipline you, because you are born with that innate thoughts of you gotta be wild and tough and roam around and adventure and explore, because that's how you kept yourself alive. But now that we are, you know, in this society and stuff, it's weird. It's just weird. Just as weird as you think that bears are nice and cuddly until you see one in real life roaming in the same street as you. I've never had that happen, but a classmate told me about it, and I was like, girl, bye. I would have been mauled right there, because I would have paralyzed. I would have paralyzed. So we don't even know how to handle seeing a bear, you know? Your grandfather is sleeping peacefully. God watches you. I walk, take the bus, and ride a bike. I found peace just being grounded. Being grounded is being one with Earth. People forget the feeling of just touching ground. think how kids are happy playing in the dirt. It's all about being grounded. Then you boost your brain areas and map paths. It's already taken. We are electric. The earth grounds up. Look at people that love growing food, sitting outside, getting sun, etc. It goes back to diet. I have always been jealous of the people who know how to grow food, because any plant that I have tried to have it freaking give birth to my food, it always dies on me. Same thing with flowers. Like, my flowers do not last longer than 4 days. In fact, I remember one year I got white flowers for some reason, and then they lasted well over a month. And I'm like, all I do is give them a little bit of water and they have made it. So my mom said, well, it is believed that when someone gives you flowers and they don't die, the person was super genuine with their feelings. All girly moments aside, Europeans tricked everyone in a way pharmacy, which is pharmakeia, which means preparer of drugs, poisoner, sorcerer. That is so true. What if it's time for another theory? What if the reason I react so poorly when when doctors used to prescribe any kind of medicine to me, what if I was reacting that way because my body knew that in my previous lives, like, my DNA only stored clean DNA, which means in my family that I can think of, none of my ancestors had like drug problems. They started taking any medication was like when they were in their 80s or 90s or something. But other than that, my mom never messed with medicine. Like, she has never needed to go to the hospital for anything except this last summer when she had her procedure. But she didn't have much pain except for what happened after the surgery. But what if medication just goes so terribly on me because my body is telling me that this is, poison, so I'm going to make you feel sicker so that you are discouraged from consuming this, because my body is trying to protect me, because my body is intelligent, Look at America. They trick us and kill people with tricking them. You got church friends, like actual believers. To tell you the truth, I don't know, because it's not a conversation that I bring up, and they don't bring up either. But I do know that my boyfriend's mom knows about this stuff, but I don't know her as a regular church goer, but she does go to church from time to time. My mom, at some point in her life, used to go to church, but it was rare because she could see the deception in the congregations. So my mother, my boyfriend, and my boyfriend's mother would be my go-to people if I wanted to discuss religion or God or spirituality and stuff, because they know. Whereas anybody else, especially in my age group, nope, nope, nope. That's a good question. I never thought about that. I never thought about how little people I know that know about this. I know how to grow food. I grew a lot of food this year, and I used to when I was a kid. You know everything. That's amazing. You gotta give me some tips on how to grow a garden, because your body is telling you, right? DNA is memory. Remember this. You are the past and the future. That when I was in pain and popped oxys. People tell me that, and thanks, my family taught me a lot. The perks of having a family. Why didn't I have a family? I can help you anytime. Let's see. My veggies of interest would be peppers, and definitely getting that pepper to turn green ASAP. And I can't think of anything that I like to eat right now. Be grounded. I have a really slow question, but how do blueberries grow? They're not on a vine, right? I have never seen blueberries growing. It's crazy. That's that's the terrible thing about convenience. You don't know how anything starts before you see it because it's already done for you. But I do know what strawberries look like. They're not really tall. They're like a little vine looking thing, and they have leaves around it, and you just pluck them. I've picked strawberries before, just once in my life back in 2010, but it was fun. Yeah, it was cool just going out in the field and just inspecting the berries and seeing which ones had the perfect shape. And some of them were weird. Some of them looked like W shaped, but they were huge. And I would always totally discriminate against those. I'm like, no, you need to have just one point where all of your angles meet. So it's strange, I know. Got third coming up on my replay at work. See ya, don't forget to like. But to your last point, that's a good one. Convenience costs and has its downfalls. All right, well, I hope you have a good shift. So, let's see. Have I really gone over everything I have to say about reincarnation? But yeah, I think it's awesome that you stated that stuff about DNA because I tend to forget the amazing power of DNA. And it's because, we have so much to learn about it still. But it's true. I have thought of it as just a massive memory card because, hello, the reason I look the way I look is thanks to my parents and their parents' parents and the parents of my parents' parents and all of that. There are traits of everyone. Even though it's many generations later, I'm pretty sure that if I were to see a picture of like my great 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 grandparents, something about them is similar to me. So there would be no me without them and the decisions that they made. So if my lineage are mostly healthy people, then maybe that's what I owe my overall better health than anything else, because I know people who definitely have terrible conditions already, and their lives have not been that different to mine. We just have different genes. And sometimes they tell me that the doctors say that the reason they have the problems they're having, nothing can be done about it because it's genetic. And I'm like, well, how did I get so lucky? But maybe that means that when I get older, that's when all the bad shit's gonna happen to me. So I hope not, but I gotta keep it real. Most of my relatives have lived to being close to centenarians, so maybe longevity is just our thing. Blueberries grow on a vine and kind of looks like a rose plant almost. I grow carrots, turnips, spinach. You mean spinach? How does spinach grow? I've never seen them. Yeah, I've never seen spinach. That's weird. Potatoes, onions, garlic, mixed green for salad, bell peppers. So you do bell peppers. Yes. The Bible even says, "You're gods." Again, I am an unbeliever, but I know the story behind it. Normally, In people's 30s, that's most when the health issues happens. Most need to eat correctly. Yeah, that's why I'm really trying to make the best decisions that I can now that I'm in my 20s, because I have never really truly had the most balanced and greatest diet in the world, let alone the cleanest. But now that I'm educating myself better about it, I feel the difference and I can taste the difference too. So I'm eager to try more things. I just gotta not be lazy and get to fixing it, especially with like cooking meats and junk. It's easy, but don't grow spinach when it's hot outside. The sun will burn it up. That's true. Spinach is so sensitive because it either freezes easily or burns up easily. So, but then again, they're like mostly water, right? Celery. How does celery grow? Have you grown celery? I love celery. Does celery even grow in America? Yes, I have. What does it look like? Do the stalks protrude from the ground or something? Because I've always seen that it's dirty on the bottom. See, it's crazy. I'm genuinely asking because I don't know. I have never seen this stuff in nature. So, yes, it does. Mostly in the south would be best. Cool. I have seen pictures of potatoes too. Like, you have to like dig them up pretty much. I'm so full of info, it's crazy. Well, that's awesome. For me, I feel like I could be that way, but I have so many interests that I become a huge scatterbrain and I never finish something. Like, I don't think I've mentioned this in the channel yet, but I love aviation. I love airplanes, but I have not studied about them enough. Like, I wouldn't know how to start a plane. Then I also love stuff about the weather. But as much as I love it and it's one of my focuses when I'm studying, um, I get distracted and sidetracked and I go for something else. Same thing with geology. Every day I see something trending that I'm like, I didn't know this was a geological occurrence, you know? And I would think that my geology knowledge is pretty vast, but then I realized that I am not because of how scattered I get, you know. Like it says that I have a very bad connection. Why? I have all of my signal strength. Major sad face. Yeah, I don't think I have a way of fixing this. So I tried to push the reconnect button and the timer is moving again. Can you guys see me or hear me? That's weird because I wasn't even touching it. Anyways, well, I guess this is a good stopping place anyway. I have to definitely get up in a few hours, so I'm good now. Okay. Um, what was the last thing that you remember me saying? I know that I was reading your comment about how you have a friend that flies um, planes for a living now. Um, now I'm paranoid because, okay, it's running again. All right. I'm kind of a nerd. See, I just wish that I wouldn't have stopped learning consistently. Um, what I mean by that is that I was able to keep focus. like stay focused on something. About how I'm scatterbrained. Okay, well, yeah, pretty much started reading your comment after that. That said that you wanted to learn how to fly planes. My brother flies planes now, and my father also flies. But I have the interest of airplanes and junk, but I guess the technical aspect of it is what turned me off to learn about it. Because my brother, when he would use the simulator to practice and learn and everything, he would have me read the checklist for him, and then he would do the settings and whatever. But I said, there is just no way that I can focus on this. I get bored quickly. And it didn't help that I was also like 12 or 13, so my attention span was so limited. I had that issue about staying focused. It comes with age. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. The key to life is finding out where you fit in. I guess that's true because I used to look at it as a curse. Like, wow, why am I stressing myself out so much? But the older I get, the better that I can listen. Like, listening skills hasn't really been a weakness, but I realized that as someone speaks, sometimes my thoughts and opinions get in the way. And I realized that I stopped listening to the person halfway, and then I'm like, I'm sorry, could you repeat what you said after la 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 la? And then they're like, yeah, what I was saying was this and that. So I wonder throughout my life how much worthy info have I missed out on because of my spacing out issues. I used to say the same thing about myself. I told you before. I do IT work. People used to say to me, why are you on the computer? It won't get you anywhere. Look at me now, work in the army and work for myself now, over 10 plus years doing this. That's awesome. I would love to be able to work for myself too because I'm not feeling corporate America. It's stressful and it's mean and it consumes too much of my time. But I mean, at the same time, I gotta keep it real. I'm not doing what I could be doing to like maximize my potential because what can I say? I'm just really apathetic and I've had a very fed up feeling and opinion for a while now. So it's catching up to me because I'm definitely not as far in life as I could be. But the time will come for me. Like, I'm one of those people who I have my moments when I have like a decline, but then when I come back up, I mean business. The nerds are taking over. Yes, you have a lot of time. Yeah, you see, and that's the thing. It's like, if I have the time now, why am I not taking advantage of it? But like I said, I've had like this feeling of I'm just tired. I can't really explain what I mean by me being tired, but I just wanted to do something different. Um, that that too. Like I've never had my identity well defined. Like, for example, my brother always knew that he wanted to be a pilot. I never knew what I wanted to be. I said the things that I liked based on what was interesting. Like, I said I wanted to be a teacher because, of course, my mom was a teacher and I thought that it was cool and fun and games until I learned about the political side of it, which is, you have the district has its courses of studies, the performance of your kids also reflects on your performance as a teacher. And I'm like, what if I'm teaching the worst group of kids possible? Like special ed, for example, their standards are different, but if they were thrown with the regular kids, they would underperform. So why am I being penalized for that? And then the fact that you have to work at home too. and you don't get paid for that. So, you know, I would like to work on something out of vocation, and I know that teaching is something that I could do like that, but I gotta keep it real. I cannot survive on voluntary work. So, anyway, you get the point. Life is wear and tear. I would say this to you: learn to love your hobby, but don't make it a job. But plot twist, if you do what you love, it feels like you don't work a day in your life. Right? That's why you do it as a side thing. Yeah, exactly. So I like what I'm doing right now when it comes to finding myself and trying different things, taking my time. But at the same time, I don't want to take too much time. And I feel like I have taken enough time now to where I need to start taking action, because time passes, it won't slow down for me. So I don't want to start a little too late. Trust me, it's hard for me. Don't let people gas you up about working for yourself. It's easy, etc. Well, if I were to work for myself, I would have to figure out how that even works, because I have no idea what it would mean or be like to be independent. Like, I'm so used to someone else doing that for me, like someone else determining how much I make, um, and then having a job ready for me to just conduct. So, um, I live for this because I made this my life. It was a hobby, but now it's a way of life. I can tell you how to work for yourself. Well, like I just said, I have no idea what I could possibly do for myself. Again, we will learn more about each other over time. Yeah, um, it's great that I have this conversation, because it also makes me feel a little more secure about myself. Like, don't be anxious that you don't have it figured out now. But at the same time, I do get anxious, because when am I going to figure it out? I don't want to have, like, the need be on top of me before I even have experience with it. You know what I'm saying? I probably don't know what I'm saying, but anyways, you have your answers. All right. Well, your last video about your mom. What was my last video about my mom? You spoke about your mom. What did I say about my mom? Learning to grow over time even when things are hard. Oh yeah, I remember now. Um yeah, like, if I can be as prepared as she was, but in my own style, then I'll be fine. Like, she was great in her time by being organized, having a career as a teacher, etc., etc. But for me, I can have the same success, but in my own style. So, all right. Well, I don't want to stay up too late, so I'm gonna call this my stopping place. Um, Once again, this was supposed to be like a clandestine kind of stream, but of course I knew someone might join me, because you guys completely stay in touch and have those notifications on and whatever, so that's cool. But yeah, if I think of anything else to add about reincarnation, I'll consider coming back to it, but for right now, I think I said everything that I meant to say. Go to bed, and it was good talking. Deep talks are great. Yeah, especially these ones, because I can't say that I have conversed about this stuff before with someone to such an extent. I have journaled about it, and of course I think about it quite regularly. But to have third people points of view, that's definitely a new thing for me. And my mom and I have sort of brushed over these topics, but somehow it always ends up on another topic, so we lose our primary focus. So I talk about this stuff every day. That's the crazy thing. Well, I may not talk about it, but I definitely think about it, and that's why I can sort of sustain the conversation and even extend it. So anyways, well, for everyone who showed up, thanks so much for tuning in and for the chat and feedback and everything. It's been great. I love night streams because it helps me let go of anything that was feeling like a pressure in my mind, and then I can't sleep because I'm flipping and turning thinking about stuff. So yeah, this is a great way to just vent and ease into it. All right, I'll see you soon.